Okay, so it's finally September 23rd, 2015. It's about 6:30 in my neck of the woods. And yeah, it's a rather, as you can clearly hear, rather a rainy day. And so far on this rather rainy day, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. Well, okay, let's be fair about that. It's not that nothing happened. I mean, there are a few new headlines, There's um, a certain, recent headline. I don't know if you guys got this I don't know, from wherever you're listening, UK, US, Canada, wherever. But a certain one, Mr. Winterkorn, lead CEO of Volkswagen, seems to have some sort of struggle with the law. There's apparently this big, huge scandal at Volkswagen now. I haven't looked into it that thoroughly, but I'm assuming it's something with something that has to do with embezzlement or the lead CEO taking other CEOs out to the whorehouse. You know the drill, the usual scandal stuff that's been happening. And otherwise, in the news, of course, there's the big refugee crisis along with the current Euro crisis that's still going on. But suffice to say, it's not anything that we haven't heard in the past, say, 3 weeks or so. So yeah, as I said, it's September 23rd in my neck of the woods, and so far, no sign anywhere of any Illuminati, conspiracy, satanic cabal, you name it. Of course, what I'm talking about here is if you followed some of those conspirator channels, they've been going on and on and on for like months now about like September 23rd is this big reckoning, like, and the Vigilant Christian himself thinks that on September 23rd we're going to get the rapture. Well, I'm only assuming this means September 23rd in his neck of the woods because, as I've said, it's almost, it's 6:35 now, and so far, heard nothing. Absolutely nothing. Which begs me to ask what kind of excuse the Vigilant Christian is going to have once September 24th and 25th come and go. How he's going to explain this. How is he going to explain this big thing that's been going on in conspiracy theorist cycles that, as I've said, today is going to be the day of reckoning and rapture and blah, blah, blah. I wonder what excuse he's going to come up with to explain why, obviously, as everyone who's, actually sane has already figured that nothing's going to happen, nothing unusual, let's say. Of course, there are always new headlines, as I explained. But yeah, I'm wondering how he's going to explain this. And I'm also wondering because this is the Vigilant Christian. This is the guy that's supposed to be lecturing us unbelievers who are all just brainwashed by nonsense and garbage and whatnot. This is the guy who is trying to lecture us on how to be a good Christian and how to avoid the New World Order conspiracy. And I'm interested to see what kind of effect this is going to have on his channel, if it's going to have any effect at all, if he has this great prophecy and then nothing happens. Yeah, I'm wondering what he's going to say about that. And speaking of wondering and whatnot, I want to address a few other things about Vigilant Christian that I didn't have the chance to do in the past 3 weeks. In the past 3 weeks, I've been working shifts, early shifts from 5 till 1:30, and then one from 6 to 4:20. So yeah, I didn't have all that much time to get into any of the new Vigilant Christian videos or make a comment about any of that. And also, I didn't have really the time to comment on the Vigilant Christian being on the Drunken Peasants. Well, finally, he finally grew a pair and actually went on the show until, well, and that only after people essentially goaded him into going on that show because he's refused a number of times. The Drunken Peasants have contacted him before that show a number of times and said, why don't you just come on the show? Why? What's wrong with you? Are you afraid? And blah, 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 blah. And, well, he was on the show, and I watched the recording of it. For some goddamn reason, YouTube doesn't allow Drunken Peasants live stream here in Germany for some odd reason, but I still watched the recording of it, and I just wanted to know if like watching any of those radical Christian fundamentalists and all that, wanted to know, can this guy convince us? Can this guy put forth actual evidence he's been saying all this time? The satanic cabal, the Illuminati agenda, evolution is a fraud, all that stuff. Kent Hovind was wrongly convicted for tax fraud, even though there's mountains of evidence against that. I just wanted to see if he actually has some evidence for any of the things that he claims. And yes, as you would assume, that guy has absolutely no evidence whatsoever. And there were several points in this where there were points that were just cringeworthy, where you're just like, come on. That is the best you, the Vigilant Christian who is lecturing us, as I said, on pretty much everything that's going on. That's the best you can do? Really? That's whatever he says there, that's your line one item in defense of your position. Of course, he didn't really have any line one items or even line 2, 3, or 4 items because, it's the Vigilant Christian and he's just making this shit up as he goes along. And there were 2 or 3 points actually where the Vigilant Christian was actually asked a concrete question or was confronted with a concrete observation, a concrete thing, I'm just going to call it a thing, something concrete that is verifiably true. And if anyone knows who Sept Brugenkate is, and I'm assuming a lot of people in the YouTube skeptic community know who this guy is and are already cringing, I'd assume. But that guy, Sept Brugenkate, he's an apologist. He's debated, well, I can't say recently, a few months ago, he's debated Matt Dillahunty. And yeah, this guy has this shtick where he keeps asking, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know you're not a brain in a vat? Or how do you know anything that you know to be true is actually true? Well, yeah, and the Vigilant Christian on the Drunken Peasants had a very similar shtick. His shtick is when you confront him with something concrete, to say, well, that's just your worldview. That's just your worldview. I have mine. We all differ in opinions, and that's just how the world is. Yeah, no. You can't use that kind of lame argument when we're talking about objectively verifiable things. For example, one of the cringeworthiest moments, or where this entire thing basically fell apart, is when they got into a discussion about the Bible, when they talked about specific Bible verses and whether the Vigilant Christian actually supports what it says in his book. And TJ at some point reads, I can't remember what it is, what it was. I think it's Deuteronomy or some passage in one of the Gospels. I'd have to look that up again. Maybe put it in the video description, the link to the debate, and maybe I'll put in the link to the debate. But it was a concrete Bible verse that was very explicit and obviously counters what the Vigilant Christian chooses to believe. And yeah, the Vigilant Christian then responded, as I said, with, well, that's just your worldview. That's just your worldview, and that's what it is. And TJ then says, no, this isn't just your worldview. This is in your Bible. This is the printed word, the inalterable true word of the living God, what they always say. And this is what's in your book, black and white. How do you deal with that? And the Vigilant Christian, of course, then just goes on to say, well, that's just your worldview, that's just what you think, and that's just that. So that was one of the cringeworthy parts of that debate. And another one was where they also had a user named Paul's Ego on there, who I only know from the Drunken Peasants podcasts. I don't know what he does specifically, but I'm assuming he's also in like the skeptics community or something. As I said, I don't know what he does, but he again asked the Vigilant Christian a very concrete question, where he asked, how do you reconcile having all this money and all this wealth for your ministry, getting all that camcorder stuff, all the lighting accessories you sometimes in some of his live videos when he's not doing a slideshow, the black curtain, his little studio and all that. How do you reconcile this with Jesus telling you, as a believer, as a strong believer in the teachings of Jesus Christ, how do you reconcile this with Jesus telling you to essentially sell everything you have? Your house, your car, your boat, you get the picture. And of course, the Vigilant Christian again goes on to say, well, that's just your belief, that's just your opinion, and there's a car going by. Who would have thought? Well, that's just what he said, that's, no, wait, sorry, wait a minute. What he basically said is, I need this for my ministry. That's basically what he said, which would be fine, I guess, which would be an okay thing to say, but yeah, it's just kind of weird that a guy who works as a personal trainer, who I'm assuming, now I don't know what the going rate for a personal trainer is, but I'm assuming that whatever you pay a personal trainer is a bit more than what you would usually pay as a monthly gym subscription fee. And that's also one of the things that I've always been wondering about is the whole him asking for donations on PayPal. That's something that I've been wondering about for several months actually, because it's kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, this guy's got 250 100,000 subscribers by now. So let's just assume half of these people are actually in it for real. Yeah, let's assume for a moment that 100,000 people, half of the people on his channel as subscribers, actually buy into the stuff that he preaches, whether it's his Christian stuff or his New World Order stuff. So, yeah, let's just assume all those 100,000 people give him $1. $1 per month on PayPal or Patreon. That means the Vigilant Christian earns at least $100,000 per month. Of course, I'm assuming you're going to have to pay taxes on that, or somehow how that's done. I don't know. I don't have Patreon. I never asked for donations on PayPal. I don't do that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's just assume, let's just go with this and take the taxes away. So we have $100,000 net worth, $100,000 per month. Where the hell does that money go? Like, seriously, he said he's been born again in 2012, and that's about the time that he started his ministry, and he's got about 100,000 subscribers the past 2 years or so. So my question, so again, where the hell does this money go? It's been at least 2 years that this guy has been relevant, and still he's working with what I can only assume to be screen capture of him using the Windows Live photo gallery, some kind of photo gallery program that, the standard programs you get when you buy a laptop or a computer. So, yeah, for a guy who's making that much money, I'd assume, and even if we're just talking about 1,000 people per month, giving him $1 per month, that's still $1,000 solely for his ministry, solely the income through his ministry that he has to spend. And yet he's still working with lame-ass, cheap screen caps instead of actually getting a decent video editing software. And in case you're just saying, oh, this is just some guy who's ranting and he doesn't know what he's talking about, as some of you know, I do another review channel, Das German Kritic, where I review Germans in English. Now, for that, I spent roughly $500. It set me back about 500, maybe even $700 if I do the math. That's for acquiring the camera, acquiring the tripod, the table sheet, the black table sheet that you see, acquiring the frame, the little flag that I have, the background stuff I have in the background, the Germany map, and the coat of arms of our 16 states, and the video editing software. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have expenses for what I do on my Das German Kritic channel, and that only set me back $500, maybe even $700 if I do the math correctly, if I actually tally that up. But yeah, and that stuff works well. It works very well for what I'm trying to do. And now remember, I'm not just sitting in front of a camera just vlogging. I do off and on-cam stuff, again, very much like that guy with the glasses the Nostalgia Critic, that sort of stuff, where I actually have to do editing video footage and all of that. But the point is, the video editing software I got, it's Magic Music Maker Deluxe 2015. That only set me back $60. $60 for a video editing software that does pretty much all the basic transitions that you want. So again, I ask the Vigilant Christian, where the hell does your money go? Do you not have $60, or do you not have $1,000 to buy decent video editing software, decent lighting, decent camera, any of that stuff? And if so, where does the rest go? Which brings me to something that I've always been wondering, or something that should be done, is that people who make donations on Patreon should tell you exactly what the money is for. Specifically, if it's for a ministry. Specifically, if it's for some things that vague as a ministry. Because what's a ministry? Strictly speaking, a ministry is just you going around with a Bible and preaching to people. That's pretty much what the basic ministry is, which doesn't cost you a single cent. So that's my question. Where does all this money go? With over 200 subscribers and at least 1,000 people that are in it, not just for the lulz, or not for the lulz, but are actually genuinely believe what the Vigilant Christian Mario preaches. Yeah, where the hell does this money go? So that was a rather long rant about money, but I'm not over. My ranting is not over, because if you've been following the Vigilant Christian, you'll know that he started to, I don't want to say tread on my turf, but the Vigilant Christian has decided to become a movie reviewer, specifically the reviewer of Christian movies, which is fine, which is okay, which is fine. I have no problems with that. If that's what he wants to review, sure, it's a Christian channel. He can review Christian movies. I mean, I'm not a total dick. I know a few Christian movies that he could maybe review, but here's the problem. Here's the problem with this whole movie review thing. On his movie reviews that he did, or that he maybe will do, again, he's asking for money. He's asking, well, not directly asking for money. You know what he says? You can go check out my Patreon and my PayPal and all of that. So he's indirectly asking for money, which means that he's doing the reviews indirectly for money. He's doing it indirectly for profit. However, he's also stated flat out that he's not going to review any sort of movie that's contrary to his belief system. For example, he stated flat out that he's not gonna review the Left Behind movies. I don't know which one he would review, the one with Nicolas Cage or the one with the Kirkster, with Kirk Cameron. I don't know. He just said, Left Behind, not gonna do it. But the problem is, once you're, or I'll just put it in another way. If you're not reviewing, or if you're just reviewing things that in his case, speak to what you believe, or if you just review movies that you like, then it's not really, complete. You know what I'm saying? You're just doing it for the lulz. You're not actually genuinely reviewing movies in the way that, I guess, yeah, if you're doing it for the money. Because if you're doing it for the money, and the Vigilant Christian, or the Vigilant Christian, he actually misspelled his own name on one of his slides, which, again, a person who's trying to fucking lecture us on how to behave, how to be a good Christian, how to receive the gift of salvation, that guy spells his own name wrong. Yeah. But if you're doing it for profit, like the Vigilant Christian does, then no, sorry. Then you have to review movies that you don't like. That's just the way it is. Now, on my Das German Kritic page, I don't monetize my videos for the sole reason that I don't want to get into problems with copyright issues. I mean, we all know how that is on YouTube, and I don't need to go any further with that. But even I, who's not doing it for the money, I am willing to review horrible German movies, even if I don't have any monetary incentive or any fan incentive. By the way, hello to my first 3 subscribers on Das German Kritic. Your interest, that's the word I was looking for. Your interest is very appreciated. Even though I have no monetary interest or reason to do so, I still review all of the bad German movie stuff. I've sat through Lion and the King, and I've sat through Balto: An Adventurous Journey, and in the future, one of the next movies I'm going to do is called Ratten, sie werden dich kriegen. Rats, they will get you, or I think in English it's just called Rats. I don't know. It's a stupid little disaster movie. I still review that because it's part of the job. And even if you're not doing it for the money, it's just reviewer integrity. So that's why I have this gripe with the Vigilant Christian saying flat out he's not going to review certain movies, even though they are Christian movies. But again, it's kind of, in a way, it's also kind of sad that he's just seeing the negative aspect of this. I mean, what's wrong with reviewing a movie that you don't like? Say, for example, in this case, it goes against your theology. I mean, you can take that movie as an example of why your theology should be correct, why the Left Behind series does everything wrong, in your opinion, and misrepresents the biblical account or your denomination's view on what's going to happen during the rapture and after the rapture and during the tribulation and all that stuff. You see, I don't understand why can't he just see that opportunity? He should be able to see that. And Vigilant Christian friends and allies and subscribers in my comment section, because I know you're there, and yes, Dream Vista, I'm looking at you. Maybe you can change his mind. Just use that argument, what I said. Ask him to review something like the Left Behind series as an example of why his theology should be correct. Because I don't see personally, even if I was a Christian, I'd still review, or let's say, even if I was, let's say, Catholic, for example, I'd still review the 2003 Luther movie. I'd maybe still review any other movie about some Protestant leader. I don't know if there's a movie about Thomas Mincer out there, but I'd review it. And simultaneously, if I were Protestant, I'd review a movie about a Catholic saint. I mean, why not? It's it's just sitting down and talking about a movie, discussing the pros and cons. Should I think that should be doable. So yeah, um, Dream Vista and all those other TVC fans out there, just present him with the argument I just gave, and let's see what he says about that. I mean, yeah, should be doable. Oh yeah, and also ask him what I asked. You know, if he's doing it, or tell him what I just said, that if he's doing it for the money, even if he's doing it indirectly through Patreon and PayPal, that he has to have a certain integrity as a reviewer. Simply, is just what it boils down to is just the integrity of his reviews, of him as a reviewer of Christian films. Because that's even worse than just being a bad reviewer, or just not reviewing the movies that you're supposed to, or, that's, to me, as a reviewer doing it myself, is the worst thing that you can do, is not having this integrity. So, I have ranted for about half an hour now. Well, not entirely ranted, but you know what I mean. I guess I have to give maybe a bit of a preview. And as it looks like the rain's stopped as well. That's a nice thing. But I want to talk about a few projects that I'm going to do in the future. Now, as I said, I'll be doing that video about where I'll show where I'll present the history of Maionistics, and why, or what would have happened in the past had we gone with, let's say, the intelligent design arguments. Let the students decide, specifically that kind of argument. And another video that I'll do in the very, very near future, I'll promise that will be up in at least next week. Next week will be the upload date for a video that I've been wanting to do for a long while now, and it's another debunking video, but this time we're going to take a look at one of Vigilant Christian's, I hate to say peers, but I'm just going to use his term, brother in Christ. One of his brothers in Christ, Paul Washer. Some of you, the name might be familiar, either positively or negatively. For me, it's of course negatively, otherwise I wouldn't be debunking him. And it's a video about Paul Washer talking about Christian persecution in the United States. Should be fun. And another video that I'll upload, maybe not next week, but I'll try to do it, is going to be another Aphuk versus the Vigilant Christian, because this time, the Vigilant Christian Mario has decided to proclaim that Hitler was not a Christian. Of course, that argument is very old. We've all heard it. Hitler was an atheist, and now for some reason he also believes in Satan and the whole Illuminati satanic cabal, even though those are two contradictory things. You can't really be an atheist and believe in Satan at the same time. Kind of contradictory, but of course, being German myself, you would assume that's going to be fun when I do a debunking video about that and prop up material and sources that, yeah, let's just say aren't mainstream. I'll just say mainstream. Just the kind of sources that you're privy to if you actually speak German, and stuff that hasn't been translated into English, from where it's very, very, very clear that Hitler was a Christian and even a creationist. So, again, that should be fun. Should be fun going through that. And yeah, other than that, as I've already shamelessly plugged, you can take a look at my other channel, Das German Kritic, where I review German movies entirely in English. And oh yeah, about that little YouTube anecdote here. I recently did a review of Der Fischer und seine Frau, The Fisherman and His Wife, and unfortunately, and I use that in quotations, unfortunately, this video can no longer be seen in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Liechtenstein, and I believe France. Which is hilarious and ironic because this review isn't even targeted at a German-speaking audience. Yeah, laugh my ass off out loud. Yeah, so that's, as I said, you can take a look at my reviews on Das German Kritic. I'll be reviewing, or I finished the raw material to Nackt, Naked, a review of a video of a movie done by the same writer and director of the movie I previously reviewed. In October, I hope I can finally start my first themed review. As I said, I'm going to be in that themed review or theme series is going to deal with German disaster movies. Not Roland Emmerich movies, but German disaster movies made for the German market. And Ratten, sie werden dich kriegen, Rats, or Rats, they will get you, or whatever the title is, as I've mentioned, is going to be the first movie in that series of movies. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. I'll leave a link to the channel in the description. Other than that, you can follow Das German Kritic on Facebook. I'll put a link to that in the description too. Yeah, apart from that, I don't think there's anything more left to say, except for maybe God is Canadian or American or Mexican or whatever, and the September 23rd thing really only does apply to North America, in which case, well, we're just gonna have to drink tea and hope and wait and see if anything happens, or if, as I said, 24th, 25th are going to come and go, and the world is just going to be spinning and being as crazy and wondrous as usual. So that was that, and I'll be seeing you in one of my other videos. Till then, have fun, stay safe, and bye-bye.